Why, good evening and welcome to CANTV 21 Let's Talk Etiquette. My name is Nathan Wright and I'm your host for Let's Talk Etiquette right here on CANTV. What an outstanding organization. I can't say they're just awesome, and I'm just pleased to be here and be a part of this great organization. Do we have a great subject for you today? Yes, we do. We try to have some interesting things to talk about relative to etiquette and, of course, that grand word called civility. And these are foundational values that go back thousands of years that we don't talk about very much anymore. I guess we're supposed to kind of figure out how society works and what the social system represents and what are the rules of behavior for our society. No, we don't talk about them anymore, unfortunately, sadly, regrettably. And there is a cost, there's a price we pay if we aren't educated in understanding how important these social values are. And they are extremely important in terms of how we coexist and how we interact with one another in this society. You can see the difference when it's not taught. The people are very violent. People are very stressed out from just ignorant behavior. People are racing up and down the expressway like they are gone out of their mind. No respect for the other drivers that's out there using that public road. And you see these kinds of things every day. Innocent people are shot to death. Just minding their own business, trying to live their life, and they lose their life because there is no respect for life anymore. And that's rooted in the lack of behavior education. That's rooted in the lack of understanding what your role is in society. If a child understands his role, if an adult understands their role, they know it's to be a law-abiding citizen. That's the number one rule, to be a law-abiding citizen contributing to the betterment of this society. If that's not taught to you, if that's not your values, then you're going to be someone irresponsible. Someone is subject to do something very unprofessional or very illegal. And here is where we at. We're at a lost time where we don't know where we're going and what is our direction, nor what our responsibilities are. And so we here at the Etiquette Foundation understand that's an essential quality of your behavior, your value system. And we're not getting that, unfortunately, from our mainstream media or from our political leaders or business leaders. And they just simply think it isn't necessary to educate our young people in this discipline, this all-encompassing discipline. But today we're going to have a subject that's somewhat related to our behavior as a people, as a community, and that I think it should start this journey towards civility with our political representatives. They are the ones who are standing tall and high and can be tremendously influential in determining how we as a society go forward and the kinds of things we begin to realize are important in our daily lives and our daily relationships with one another. So I'm going to put on the overhead what our subject for today is all about. And I hope you can read that, but it says Etiquette Foundation of Illinois is appealing to our elected officials holding let me read that again. The Etiquette Foundation of Illinois is appealing to our elected office holders and candidates for elected office to pledge to conduct their campaign in a respectful manner by adopting EFOI's 2022 Civility Campaign Pledge. So I think I managed to get that through, and just happy to be able to read through that, and so that you can understand where we're at with that and what we're trying to say with that. essentially what we're going to do is ask all of the candidates, send them a letter asking them to conduct themselves in a civil manner and not engage in the kinds of things we have witnessed in the past that really is an insult and an assault on our political system, on the process. And so we want those candidates to return to a level of civility that simply hasn't existed in many, many, many years. So what is this pledge all about? Our 2022 Civility Campaign pledge all about? I'm going to read some of the points we feel are important that we would like to see them conduct themselves in a fashion that's respectful and considerate. And we start out with A, to conduct an honorable and dignified campaign. Let me read that again. To conduct an honorable and dignified campaign. And we think that's an important quality of campaigning, no matter what your office may be. B, to forthrightly denounce negative attack ads, regardless of who is running them. These negative attack ads, it turns people off. It makes you not want to participate in the process because they're so mean-spirited. And we see it election after election after election. And it really is a disgrace to our democracy for us to use these tactics in order to try to sway a voting public to support their candidacy. Let me move on. C, denounce name-calling and any misrepresentation of your opponent's position or record on the issues. D, denounce all activities that may disrespect the office you are running to hold. It's not that complicated to be able to be a candidate and adhere to certain standards of decorum and ask your opponent to do the same. The public will get more information out of what you want to represent and why they should vote for you than all of these other activities of trying to embarrass or disgrace or belittle or attack the reputation of your opponent with gossip and all kinds of other things you want to use as a weapon against the public supporting him or her to that specific office. Let me read on. E, insist that all persons working on your behalf refrain from all activities that may undermine the election process. People hire people to do all kinds of, disrespectful things to embarrass or to undermine your opponent's efforts to get elected, calling them liars and misrepresenting the truth and all kinds of digging up dirt on them to try to embarrass them or to use this to get the people to vote for you. Just give your policies. Give what you want to do once you are elected to the office. Sell yourself in that area, and the people will support you. They will vote for you. But if you're going to be, attacking your opponent and calling them names and all those other kinds of things, trying to find some dirt on them so that you can embarrass them in some way, that's not the way we believe at the Etiquette Foundation you should be conducting your campaign. And so this is why this is such an important issue. If we can convince the elected officials that are either running for Congress or even running for the governorship or some mayoral position in the state, if we can convince them that let's change the tone of the electoral process. And we can change that tone right here in Illinois. and be a shining symbol of what the election process should be all about. And that's, to me, will be a signal to the public, to the people you want to vote for you, to understand that we can do better, than we have done in the past. And we don't have to continue down that sordid road of campaigning and trying to convince you to vote for us. Okay, let me go on to the next one. Pledge to restore honor to the electoral process and the American political system. Now that to us would be such a great achievement to have our politicians here in Illinois take on this new path that we at the Etiquette Foundation is and will be encouraging those candidates to take on. We call it our 2022 Civility Campaign Pledge. And we want each candidate to actually sign their name to this pledge. And they're welcome to use it in their campaign. They can sign it and challenge their opponent to sign it as well. This is taking a step forward and changing the whole tone of what elections are supposed to be about. And we're certain that some of the candidates are going to adopt this because we're going to send it to all of them. And so some of them will adopt this, hopefully, and then that will encourage the others to adopt it. And if they want to use it as a political issue to get their opponents to also adopt it, what's wrong with that? I think that would be good for everybody. And I'm sure our listening audience will agree with that. So this is the kinds of things we at the Etiquette Foundation are committed to, so that we can have some new order in our society, an order based on respect, based on compassion, based on educating our children to how to be civilized. And this is why we're doing and we're seeing the horrible things that we're witnessing every day, and they are horrible because we haven't taught them how to be civilized. There's a process, and it's an educational process. And everybody that's listening to this show right now, please contact your local officials and ask them to contact the Etiquette Foundation of Illinois and request a copy of their 2022 Civility Pledge campaign form. Okay, so that they can use it and present it to whomever they think is their opponent or has already announced that they're their opponent, so that we can get on the same page as a state. And with that would certainly be one of the great achievements that we believe that can be made, because that would have tremendous influence and impact on how the electoral process function going forward. And believe me, those other states, they will be watching, they will be observing, they will be taking notes on how well the campaign in Illinois were conducted. And wouldn't that be something special, that they would take notes from us and adopt some of the things that we are promoting, to take this to the national stage, so that campaigns going forward, right up to the presidential campaign, that this would be done at the highest level of civility. And wouldn't that be wonderful? We would be a model to the world. They would say the Americans have took a tremendous turn for the good of the electoral process in that country. And that's what we want to try to accomplish as the Etiquette Foundation of Illinois. And I'm hoping that we're going to get the support from those who are listening to this show right now. You can contact us at www.efoi.org. You can contact Nathan at efoi.org and communicate with me on your questions or your thoughts, some things you may want to recommend to us. We're wide open to your opinion, and we want to have and hear your opinion. So don't hesitate to give us a call or to send us an email. Email is better simply because or text, simply because of covert. We are in a shutdown mode in our offices, and we are communicating directly from our base of home in most cases. So you can reach out and contact us through our phone number or our email address or my you can text me at my personal cell phone. That's 708-261-4547. Text me directly, and I will respond and certainly join into whatever you may recommend that we see as a positive as we indulge in this new venture of civility campaigning. And so one of the other things I wanted to cover while I'm here on the air is that we believe that public school education is one of the areas that is sorely not doing the kinds of things that it could be doing and should be doing. And so we're begging the mayor of Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot, to consider what we do in bringing us into your public schools, especially those schools on the west side and on the south side, where the schools where the highest crime rates in those communities are happening. It is those schools that have educated, or not educated, the young men on the street today who are killing one another and killing innocent people. Those schools are the bedrock of why we're producing, how we're producing these young killers today. They come out of those schools. And it's easy to track them right back to those schools. And, when they get arrested, they go to the juvenile division. You can look at their record and say what school and what community they came from. You can look at their address and determine what school they more than likely came from. And so those schools are the schools we want to ask the mayor to put our program in those schools, starting in the first grade through to the sixth grade. I mean, right there, those 4 years are critical to that child's social, moral development. And that is where the mistake is being made, where the ball is being dropped in that age range, so that they can learn what it is to be a citizen. They can learn what it is to be civilized. They can learn how important it is to have moral values. That's so critical to who they become in adult life. And so that's what we want to appeal to the mayor, to give us the opportunity to go into those 5 or 6 schools on the west side and those 5 or 6 schools on the west side, and we can drive down the violence. And we want to be in the high schools too. Don't let me fail to mention that. Give us your sophomores and seniors, okay? Give us your sophomores and seniors and your juvenile division. Let us take those kids as well. Those are the kids 3 steps away from committing a crime, going to prison, and so we can save those young men and women at that level, the junior level, sophomore level, and senior level in the high schools. And that would curtail the violence rate down per yearly decrease. And last year we experienced 800 homicides. I would guarantee if the mayor took our programs and allowed us into those key high schools and elementary schools, I would guarantee that following school year, you will see a small decrease in the violence. And the following year after that, you will see a significant decrease in the violence. And it will go down that road for the next 8, 10 years, where in less than, I would say, less than 10 years, the homicide rate would be under 10%. Now that sounds like almost an impossibility, but I would say in a decade, and that's not a long time, that those 6th graders would be young adults. And the homicide rate will drop down to under 10%. 10%, at least down to that level. And so that means 600 and some people will be alive, in that timeline when you talk about the end of the decade. And that's what we should be trying to do, because it's going to continue if we do nothing. And in fact, it's going to get crazier. It's going to get more dangerous. And many, many innocent people are going to die. Now, we can live with that. We're okay with that, living in fear, afraid to come out of our house. If we do, we have to have a firearm on us. And that don't mean we're going to be safe, because the criminal among these young kids have the upper hand. They're the one conspiring to carjack me. I won't have any hope of trying to outdraw them, because they're going to have the gun already on me. And so I would be crazy to try to have a battle, a gunfight with them. I'm going to more than likely lose my life. Okay? So the mayor can make a tremendous difference. And I know she's up for re-election in 2023 rather. And so we want to help her get re-elected if she wants to get re-elected. And I think the community would be just absolutely 100% behind her making this kind of initiative to get the violence rate down. And so we're going to be sending her letters and begging her to take a look at what we are doing in the schools and what we have done in the schools, and see if we can make a difference in terms of how our young people are being educated, because the TV and these violent games are not doing it. This Mortal Kombat and all these other violent games our children are playing with 10, 12 hours a day, getting internalized in how to, react with the intent to kill someone. Those games are very dangerous and shouldn't be, as far as we're concerned, shouldn't be even sold, in this country, because they're not doing us any good. We see the consequences of these violent games that our children have access to. And so, and when you combine the guns that are out here, I can go down the corner and buy a gun, for a couple of $100. So guns are just like buying a hamburger. It's so easy to assess a gun. And what does a 15, 16-year-old, 17-year-old do with a gun? I mean, that's like you just giving a child an opportunity to murder someone. This is all it's going to constitute, is somebody getting killed. And then when you put the drugs into the mix, I mean, the kind of marijuana that they're smoking today, they're out of their mind. So you're creating a situation where it's going to have awful consequences. So we want to continue to hopefully get the mayor here in Chicago to see what we are doing and become one of our great supporters and change the direction of the public school system here in the city of Chicago, and hopefully in the county of Cook. So that's one of the things that I definitely want to get mentioned to you before the end of the show. Now, the other thing that we are working on as an organization is we do jazz. Surprisingly, our Arts and Cultural Committee have undertaken this wonderful venture called Jazz on Sunday at Room 43. Now, at the moment, we're on our winter break, but we will be back up and running in April. And what we do with that, because we all are jazz lovers, and if you're familiar with Room 43 on East 43rd Street, then you would know that that's an outstanding location for jazz on the south side of Chicago. Remember, 43rd Street was known for the Checkerboard Lounge, for those who are old enough to know about blues. But you can go to YouTube, the Checkerboard Lounge with Muddy Waters and the Rolling Stones, and see the awesomeness of what Room 43 in our Chicago history books represent. It just was phenomenal. It's known all over the world. And the Rolling Stones actually got their English group of musicians, but they selected their name, the Rolling Stone, because of Muddy Waters' song, I'm Just a Rolling Stone. And, you know, during the 40s and 50s and 60s, blues was very, very popular in England and specifically in London. And so all of the Beatles and all these other European rock and rollers learned their trade through listening to blues. And so this particular tape of the Rolling Stones with Muddy Waters is right there on your YouTube, so you can check it out and see the impact of 43rd Street on the history of Chicago, right there in Bronzeville. And so jazz is equally as important for 43rd Street because of Room 43. The Hyde Park Jazz Society had jazz every Sunday for about 15 years. It's known all over the country, and people come in from out of town, they come to 43rd Street for jazz on Sunday. That's how well known it is. And so we were very pleased, Etiquette Foundation, to be able to bring jazz back to Room 43 on Sunday. And we had an outstanding run for about 5 months. And we brought in the top jazz artists in the city of Chicago. And we even honored 2 great jazz artists, a piano player and a sax, and that's Ari Brown and Kurt Brown. I'm sure you know those 2 names. Go to YouTube, Ari, A-R-I, Brown, and Kurt Brown, and see some of the amazing jazz that they have posted on YouTube. And you would be pleasantly surprised at the quality of the jazz musicians that we had there on Sundays. So we're going to continue with that, and we're going to make some announcements on CANTV right here when we get close to coming back in the spring. And, you know, we are folks that don't like a lot of snow. And it's very dangerous when there's a lot of snow out there. So we felt it'd be safer to wait until the spring to continue our jazz at Room 43. And certainly we're going to be inviting you out to join us so that you can see what we're about with our arts and cultural initiative. And so with that said, I would like to conclude out this show about our pledge that we're going to be asking the politicians, the candidates, to take the Civility pledge during their campaign and see if we can improve the kind of campaigning we see here in Illinois. Well, with that said, the show is over. Please join us next Wednesday at the same time. And again, my name is Nathan Wright, and thank you so much for being with me this evening.